Imagine walking into your boss's office and giving notice because your writing has become your primary revenue stream. Or your podcast is successful enough that you can quit your day job. Or maybe having your marketing on autopilot so you can spend your time on the art career you love rather than on marketing. Are you a creative person who's great at what you do, but marketing makes you freeze? You're not alone. I help passionate, purpose-driven creatives overcome fear, find their brand voice, and build a marketing strategy that works for them. Oh yeah, I also make it easy and painless. It's never too late to grow the business you've been dreaming about. Book an introductory call with me, Rob Southgate, at southgatesmallbusiness.com today. And let's take the pain out of marketing together. Welcome to Ink Blots, the show where I interview authors about their lives, writing, and the books they love. Be sure to follow the Ink Blots podcast on Substack. Not only can you listen to the latest episodes, but our Substack also has interview transcriptions and links to books and other items that we talk about on the show. If you like what we're doing, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. It really helps us and our sponsors out. Oh, and leave comments. We really do read and respond to every one. Now, let's get on with the show. Mark Robinson, welcome to Ink Blots.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we're going to go back and forth on this, but it's truly my pleasure. So take that. I am so excited to talk to you. People that listen to the show know that I am a marketing nerd. I do a show about marketing called Pour Over Marketing. I always reference it. And I have a marketing nerd icon with me today with his new book. I'm just so fascinated by this. So, Mark, let's start. This will probably be the whole episode. Start by telling people a little bit about yourself. Then we'll get into your book.
One of my favorite pastimes, talking about me.
Well, you're a marketer. That's what we do, right?
Yes. Well, I've been in marketing and advertising for 45 years. It's been pretty much my entire professional life. Got into the business straight out of college. Had an alum from my college network who got me my first job interview, and have been in the business ever since. Started out my career focusing on new product development and had the privilege of launching 7 different new products over the course of the first half of my career, all of which I'm very proud to say were successful and brands that lead in their categories, some that really changed the business, things like Fancy Feast cat food I didn't cure cancer. I didn't do anything truly remarkable, but I have had some fun in the business over the course of the years. And about midway through my career, got solicitations from various executive recruiters to come over to the multicultural marketing side of the business, and have focused on that more or less throughout the second half of my career. Multicultural marketing, both with African American consumers, Hispanic consumers, Asian American consumers, LGBT consumers, all of the various emerging segments in the marketplace that didn't necessarily get the kind of attention and respect and full-on marketing treatment from mainstream agencies.
Yeah, actually, this is something I talk about. I teach integrated marketing at a college. This is something I talk about with them when we're talking about demographics and how you target and all that. And these are, for the most part, a bunch of, suburban white kids that I'm dealing with, that when you start talking about how to slice these demographics up, like it's eye-opening to them when we start talking about how, before there wasn't really any marketing to, and there weren't people of color behind or other outside of the white normal, what they call normal, running things. It was rare.
Yeah.
I mean, they're shocked when I say that women weren't put in these positions. It's like, yeah, even when I was a kid, you look around and go, no, women were not given those opportunities. We still have a long way to go, but at least people like you have pioneered and helped open those doors, which I thank you for. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. The advertising business started in any formal way in the late 1800s, around the 1880s, 1890s. And it wasn't for another 75 years before there was any such thing as multicultural marketing, or
Right.
any possible consideration that was worthy of anybody's marketing dollar.
Do you think Billy D. Williams is the reason? Because he was so awesome in those Colt 45 commercials back then. Now, see, that's where I
sell a lot of beer.
When I was a kid, those commercials, and it's probably why, for me, like I gravitated towards like the blaxploitation films and that because of him. Because I'd see those commercials, I'm like, he's awesome. Like, and I don't drink beer. Even as a little kid, I didn't. Even now, I don't. But he could sell beer. That guy was the coolest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
speaking of blaxploitation films, I don't know if you know that Shaft, which was really the original first blaxploitation movie in 1969, that it was marketed by a black ad agency. Did all the marketing for the film.
Really?
And Shaft was done by MGM, was the studio. It was MGM's only profitable movie that entire year.
That says something, doesn't it? Now, it's not just marketing, but it's the desire of the audience at that point, too, I have a feeling, because it launched a lot. Once again, when I was a kid and I saw Richard Roundtree and I saw Shaft, I was a kid way too early to see a movie like that. Now that I look at it, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's like a 6-year-old playing Grand Theft Auto now. You go, that's maybe a little early, but he was the coolest. Shaft was the coolest. And then seeing all those other ones, like I remember going later and seeing it's Sweetback. You remember that one?
Oh yes.
I thought that was amazing. And it was weird to me that my friends who were teenagers had no idea what it was. I'm like, how do you not know this movie? It's incredible. Now, enough about movies. You and I, although we'll probably talk about movies again because you have a little connection there as well. Your book is Black on Madison Avenue. I mean, you know that, but I'm just making sure the audience understands. You, from what I'm reading, I've read through a fair amount of this book. It sounds like you kicked the door open. You were brought in, and you were kind of the first, right?
Well, I was among the first.
Among the first, yeah.
Yes. So the early guard coming in a lot of places. I was the first black VP at the agency where I worked. I was the first to run a piece of business like that. So I had my share of firsts, and it's not all it's cracked up to be. Being first is often not fun.
Right.
Because there are a disproportionate share of challenges and obstacles and resistance that comes with being first.
Did you find, especially in the beginning, because there's a little bit of a turning point in the book when you seem to end up in a lot more multicultural, did you find in the beginning when they didn't know what to do with this, were you just part of the team, or were they going, okay, we've got a black guy here, how are we going to use him to market? I mean, what was the experience?
Well, it varied by individual. There were some people that were very supportive and receptive and treated me with respect and collegiality. And there were others who were like, I don't quite know how to talk to you or deal with you, and were fairly arm's length. Yeah. The first agency where I worked, and I spent 7 years there at SSC&B. Back then, all of the ad agencies went by initials.
Right.
And they had their annual recruitment materials where they would feature photos and profiles of their young management people who were up and coming, the people who were either in the training program or recent graduates of their training program and so forth. And somehow magically, I was in that recruitment brochure every year for 7 years, no matter where I was within the organization.
You were the new guy. They had to show you off. I'm sure it's because you were the new guy, right?
Yes, I was making a statement on behalf of the company.
Yeah, I get it. But you know what? In some ways, you look at that and you say, yeah, great. Okay. But on the other hand, actually, by putting you there, it is showing like, hey, we're open here to this. And hopefully it inspired others to jump into the fray, which I believe it did.
Yeah. And I would say to them after a couple of years, if you actually hired more Black people, you wouldn't have to keep reusing me every year.
Right. Right. Yeah. You could move me to a different part of the brochure. Yeah. Yeah. So you, when I was looking through the list of things you've worked with, one that I keep going back to that I just loved in your book was the entire thing about the Pleasant Company and you getting pulled in and working on the Addie doll, probably because I have a daughter who's 18 who, when she was little, had American Girl dolls. I was very familiar with the shop and all that. And I think that's really cool. Now, when they brought you in, and I'm trying to remember in the book if you say they brought you in specifically because of Addie, because they were developing this, or because of you and Addie happened to be on the docket?
Well, one followed the other. They had recruited me to come on board as their director of marketing while I was working at an ad agency, and flew me out to Madison, Wisconsin. And I spent the day with Pleasant Rowland, who is the president and founder of Pleasant Company, a wonderful woman and, a good friend for a good many years. And she really wanted to steal me away to come work for her. I just wasn't prepared to move to Madison, Wisconsin.
Sure.
I'm a native New Yorker, and there's kind of a universe of difference between New York City and Madison, Wisconsin.
That's a big shift.
I mean, that's a bias on my part, admittedly, but so I wasn't ready to make the move. But a year after she tried to recruit me, she called me up and said, "Mark, I've got this project that I'm really excited about, and I need you to be part of this project." And it was the development and eventual launch of the Addie doll. It was still in development when she reached out to me, and so I was fortunate to be part of that process of helping to shape what would become the Addie doll. And in fact, I made something of an unusual contribution to the development and design process, as there was a lot of discussion and debate about what should Addie's hair look like.
I can imagine.
Because it's an African-American doll, the first African-American girl doll, but they absolutely wanted to get this right. And my observation and recommendation was that the hair ritual between Black mothers and their daughters is an extremely important emotional bonding ritual of the combing and brushing and braiding and so forth. And so there has to be hair that is treatable in that way, that it can be brushed and combed and braided and so forth. We can't have a doll with short, kinky hair, right? Because that short circuits that whole bonding process.
Right.
So we gave Addie long, brushable hair.
It's interesting, you talking about this. This is something that I think the average person doesn't quite understand about marketing. There's so many different aspects to it. You could be the graphic designer, you can be the copy guy, you could be the pitch person, whatever. But at the end of the day, there is also what you just did, which is the creative part of it. It's the design. It's all that stuff that people think, well, here's the magic product, you're the marketer, go. And it not necessarily how that works. Yeah. And having your handprint on Addie, the Addie doll, and that is something that I bet you're rather proud of.
I am. I'm very proud of it. And as you say, what I try to make my contribution and my skill set in the marketing process is understanding people's behavior. what motivates them to behave the way that they do, because that then gives me an opening, a door to, okay, I have this particular kind of product. How do I relate that product to the things that matter to that person and to the things that appeal to that person and why they'll behave in a predictable way?
So there's so many things that are going through my mind here. I want to finish the Addie conversation real quickly because there's a great cap to it. The chapter is called like Addie and Oprah or something like that. So Addie ended up on Oprah's gift guide, right?
Yes. When Oprah had her TV show, every year she had an episode of her show called Oprah's Favorite Things.
Yes.
And it was usually in mid-November, sort of at a window where you had time to do your Christmas shopping for the holidays. And
Sure.
Oprah would show off all of these things that she thought were wonderful in time for the holiday gift giving. And every marketer wanted to get their product on this show. They would try to get things in front of Oprah so that she would want to include it in the show. And
Absolutely.
we were able to get Addie onto Oprah's Favorite Things. When Oprah saw the Addie doll, she was gobsmacked. She just saw this thing and stopped in her tracks, picked up the doll and went and sat in a chair and just had this moment like there was no one else in the room.
It
was all alone.
Your child, right?
Like a child.
Oh.
When she sort of realized where she was in the moment, she said, "We're going to a commercial." And when they came back from a commercial, she said, "This is all I'm giving as a gift this Christmas. Everyone on my list is getting an Addie doll."
That's amazing. Was she transfixed by the hair? I just have to know.
I don't know if it was the hair. It could have been, but she held on to that doll, and she had to do the rest of the show and had to, she knew from
walking around with Addie.
We got to go look at the toaster and the luggage set and all of this other stuff. But she never put down the doll. She carried it with her for the rest of the show. And one of the other products that was there was a new Barbie doll. And the executives from Mattel who were standing in the wings along with us had a breakdown. They had a fit that Addie had outshone them in Oprah's show.
But don't you think that these are, I don't want to say two different markets. It's the same market, but you're kind of catering to two different demographics there. And if you owned that demographic, hey, if you're Kleenex and you own that space, don't worry if Dixie Cups made it that week. Different thing. Yeah. Different thing. So you also, another thing you talked in here about was the minority advertising internship program, which you seem to be very active with. And when I was reading the book, it seemed like there were parts of it where I was having to skim, where I couldn't just read through. I really want to sit and read this thing. I was so enjoying it, but short time here to get you on. And MAIP, M-A-I-P, the Minority Advertising Internship Program, it's all over your book. Like, I kept seeing it. I'm like, I got to ask about it. So this is something you were part of from the beginning, right?
Yes. Well, MAIP started in 1973, and I was an intern in the program in 77. So again, not the very first.
No, not the first.
The first. And I now have the privilege of being the oldest person who's a MAIP graduate still in the business.
So now you're the old guard.
Yes, I'm the old guard. I'm the dinosaur still walking the earth.
I'm sure that has done just great things, because that is an organization I have seen come across in front of me. And I'm not in corporate marketing, but, I read the books, I watch the things, and this is an organization I think is fantastic. And when I saw it all over your book, I thought, man, what a great group to be a part of.
It is. And these days, I spend time as a MAIP mentor for interns, helping them through the program, helping them get established in their first full-time job positions, and try to give back, because MAPE really got me started in the business, and I wouldn't have all the things that I have were it not for MAPE.
Very important. And that's a group that, if you're listening to this, you can support them. And you should at least, if nothing else, go to their website. I'll put it in the show notes and explore it a little bit, because it is about mentorship. It is about giving people a leg up and helping people out. It's not about handouts. It's not what this type of group is. This type of group is helping and bringing awareness. And I think that's the key. Okay, we're moving on to the next one. I told you I got a lot of questions. You started an agency with Spike Lee. How did this happen?
Well, I was working at another agency, and I got one of those phone calls from an executive recruiter who said, I have an interesting opportunity working with he referred to him as a creative celebrity who's interested in starting his own ad agency and needs a strong business person to run the business of the agency while he runs the creative aspect of the agency. And I didn't hesitate for even half a second. This just popped into my head, and I said, "Oh, so Spike is ready to start his own agency." And the recruiter was like taken aback and said, "I can neither confirm nor deny any of that."
Good call,
said,
though,
sure.
Mark.
I said, "Sure, I'm interested. Count me in." And fortunately, Spike and I had met and interacted on 2 previous occasions for something that I was doing for one of my other clients, which was Coors Beer and Coors Light. We did a literacy project, and Spike is very engaged and involved with Morehouse College, his alma mater.
Right.
And so we were able to do a joint promotion with Morehouse College that Spike did the face and voiceover for literacy that was sponsored by Coors Light. So we got to know each other briefly in working on that. And so when the time came for the recruiter to present a handful of resumes to Spike and say, here's my list of finalists for you to look at and see who do you want to talk to. He spread the resumes out on his desk and saw mine, and he said, "This one, I want to talk to him," and literally brushed all the other resumes aside. And had I known at the time that I was the only one that he actually wanted to talk to, I would have definitely negotiated a much better deal for myself.
Spike got a deal. That's funny. Yeah, Spike Lee's a really interesting one. I mean, back when he did She's Gotta Have It, I remember seeing that and thinking, oh my God, this is one of these indie guys that's going to be a major creative force. And it's turned out he is. Yes. In fact, we were just in Omaha, and they have I should have had my mug. I didn't know I was going to talk about it. I have a mug from this, it's called Film. Now I can't remember. It's not called Film Strips. I always want to call it that. It's Film Streams is the name of the theater. Mm-hmm. And they were doing a Spike Lee retrospective, and it was enough that my wife and I are like, it's a month from now. Should we come back in a month to see this? Because, I mean, how great would that be to see all of his films on the screen again? So he has an agency. Is that still an active agency?
Yes, Spike DDB.
And are you still involved?
Agency. I'm sorry?
Are you still involved?
No. I helped found and launch the agency and ran it for its first year or so. And then after that, got the bug to go start something of my own. And in fact, the day that I tendered my resignation to Spike, I came in, gave him the news. He looked at me, long silence, and said, "Mark, I can't talk about this now. I got to get to the garden."
Well, that is his part-time job.
Yes.
So what you started, I mean, you don't bury the lead here. Tell people what you started.
Well, I started a company called the SR Communications Alliance, which was the ad industry's first minority holding company. In the late 90s, holding companies were, the vanguard of how the business was transforming, and all of these giant mega companies were swallowing up the various agencies, and multicultural and minority-owned agencies were getting left behind. And there was a real existential risk to minority agencies. So my partner and I started the SR Alliance. I was the R, he was the S. We thought about RS Alliance, and it just didn't fall off the tongue the same way. So we went with SR. But we had 10 different minority-owned ad agencies all come together and form this network. And we had a $225 million ad agency network that we launched.
Wow. I didn't realize that was the thing that you left and did. I was thinking it was Heritage Apparel.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Heritage Apparel is why I left Spike.
Oh, I know your book better than you do. Come on, Mark.
Yes. Before joining Spike, when I was back on the Coors business, we had a Black History Month promotion for the Tuskegee Airmen.
Okay.
And the promotion was this terrific giant poster that you could get if you bought a case of Coors Light at your local retailer, and they would just give you a poster. But because of a technical snafu with the printing house, the posters didn't reach the distributor to get to the stores fast enough. Sure. And the advertising was on the air. It was radio ads promoting this Tuskegee Airmen poster that got there 1 week before the posters did. And you would have thought that all of Black America was storming Coors headquarters with torches and pitchforks going, I want my Tuskegee Airmen posters. There was such a tremendous demand for these things that it just sparked my imagination. Like, wow, people really are hungry for this kind of thing. They're hungry for African-American history and heroes. And so I spent a few years germinating my ideas and figuring out how I would start a business that explored and tried to build upon that hunger and that excitement. And so I started Heritage Apparel, which was a clothing company with clothing that celebrated African-American history and heroes. We had a Tuskegee Airmen apparel line with the leather aviator jackets that were exact replicas of the ones that the airmen wore. We had shirts and caps, and we even had bronze coins celebrating the Tuskegee Airmen. We had a Buffalo Soldier line with cavalry jackets. We had a Negro League baseball line with all of the various different Negro League baseball teams with their pennants and caps and shirts and so forth. So we had all kinds of things. But our Tuskegee Airmen leather aviator jacket was so good, it ended up in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
I love to hear that. Okay, we're going to run out of time. So I have a couple more I want to just touch on, because we didn't even talk about your wilder stories, and we're going to let you just touch on them so that people want to buy the book and read these. But there was an issue with Zsa Zsa Gabor. I believe we've talked about where that's related to, but let's hear about Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Well, that goes back to my story of launching Fancy Feast cat food.
Yes, it does.
And the creative team wanted to have a voiceover for the cat that was the essence of, feminine, exotic, spoiled, privileged, Zsa Zsa Gabor. That you would, embody an overprivileged cat that has to have the absolute very best cat food. And that voice was going to be Zsa Zsa Gabor.
It's perfect casting. It is the voice. I got it.
And unfortunately, as you said earlier, I'm betting that 90% of your audience has no idea who Zsa Zsa Gabor is. But trust me, look her up. She's a remarkable. She was the Kim Kardashian of her time.
She was famous for being famous.
Exactly. So we brought her in to do a recording session to do the lines for the commercial, and she came in, and immediately you could tell she was a little unsteady. Her voice was not great. We spent several hours with her recording the material, and we just knew we didn't have it.
Yeah.
But we were going to figure out how to fix it, and we played it for the client. The client said, "That doesn't sound like the voice we want for this cat. Go back and have her re-record." And her agent said she had the flu, and she just wasn't feeling well. So we said, okay, we want to bring her back in. And they said, well, that's fine. She's happy to come back in, but it's not going to be for another 3 or 4 weeks because she just left for Europe. Now, this was in the early 1980s. So technology being what it was in the early 1980s, you couldn't pick up a cell phone and say, call Jaja in,
right.
Off the coast of Spain or wherever it was that she was, and have her fly back. The agent said, I don't know how to reach her. I just know she'll be back in 3 or 4 weeks. And unfortunately, we were launching a new product, and this was another one of those situations where the product was going to be on the shelf. We had to have the advertising to support it. Otherwise, it was going to be a real dud of a launch without advertising and marketing support. So I had what I thought brilliant idea of, I know how to fix this. There's Zsa Zsa Gabor's sister, Ava Gabor, who looks and sounds just like Zsa Zsa. And Ava Gabor, for those who remember, played the wife on Green Acres, a TV sitcom in the 1960s.
Still love the show.
Yes. Very much the same personality, very much the same character type. And as far as I think 99% of the population was concerned, sounded exactly like her sister Zsa Zsa.
Right.
So we brought Ava in to do the recording session, and Ava's a consummate professional. She did a lot of voiceover work. She did a number of Disney movies.
She actually is a cat in the Aristocats.
In the Aristocrats and in Ladies, the Lady and the Tramp.
Oh, she's in that one too. I didn't realize that.
Yes. And so she did a perfect recording session. Everything worked out just fine. We finished the commercial, put it on the air. The launch of Fancy Feast was hugely successful. Zsa Zsa comes back from Europe. And of course, one of the first things she wants to do is she wants to hear her commercial that she did before she went away. And she hears the commercial and,
oh boy,
she knows it's not her voice. Mm-hmm. She can tell that it's her sister and not her. And what we didn't know, what I certainly didn't know, was that Zsa Zsa and her sister hate each other.
Oh.
They are professional rivals who are constantly accusing each other of stealing each other's job opportunities and roles in movies and things of that sort. And they barely speak to each other. So Zsa Zsa was infuriated that her sister came in while she was away and took her commercial because she was very proud of this launch. And so Zsa Zsa sued Fancy Feast. She sued the ad agency and sued me personally for $4 million.
Boy, you really stepped in it here, Mark.
Yeah. And so for several weeks, I went completely without sleep, and convinced that this was going to be my swan song in the business.
Yeah.
But fortunately, the launch of Fancy Feast was so successful that the client was flush with cash. And they didn't want to hear about any problems or any distractions. So they said, we're writing a check. We're making this whole thing go away.
And
that's the end of it. They paid her off.
That is a hell of a story, Mark. Okay. You're not going to tell these stories, but I'm just going to chum the water here. There's a story in here about a shouting match with a Venezuelan army general in the middle of a coup. There is a kidnapping story in here. There's just There's a lot of stories. And I'm telling you, that's why I didn't get through the whole thing, because I'm reading and I just fall into the chapter and then I'm like, there's so many pieces of the puzzle that it's almost like I'm going chapter at a time, not looking at it as a memoir like it's a single book. It's so fun to read. And if you're a marketing nerd, it's so full of marketing nerd stories that you'll just love. So, Mark, where can people interact with you?
Well, I have a website. I actually have a couple of websites. If you're more interested in me as the marketing guru, go to marksrobinson.com. And if you're more interested in me as the author, go to markrobinson-writing.com.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. And we will put that in the show notes as well. I love it when people contact the authors and they'll come back and say, oh, they had questions. We had a conversation. It was great. And that encourages them to tell people about your book. So if you know a marketing nerd out there, you definitely have the Christmas gift. One of my favorite things for this year. You like that, Mark?
There you go.
I don't quite have
it all together.
I don't quite have the panache of an Oprah, but maybe I've got a listener that goes, oh yeah, it's one of Rob's favorite things. So follow him on social media, get this book, get his first book. You will not regret it. I am a huge fan of these. And once again, I'll put in the show notes where you can get this stuff directly. And Mark, truly, truly thank you for being on.
Oh, it was an absolute blast. Thank you again for inviting me on. And anytime you want to talk more, I'm always available.
I might take you up on that.